Hey everybody, welcome back to Onstage, Offstage. I'm your host, George Sapio, and this is episode number 165, May of 2023. Our guest this month is Midge Guerrera. Midge is a playwright whose work spans almost 50 years. I met her almost 20 years ago, and we were both pursuing our MFAs in creative writing at Goddard College. Her writing has always been energetic, heartfelt, and rings close to home. The dedication page of her travel book, which we will talk about in a few minutes, is Read Often, Read Well, Read Furiously. You got a play coming out with Next Stage Press, correct?
I do. He just showed me the cover, so I'm thinking that it comes out next month, maybe. It's called Mamma Mia La Befana. Okay. And it's a riff on the Italian holiday Christmas Epiphany tale of La Befana.
What kind? It's comedy, drama.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. I think that all the stuff that I do is kind of dramedy. I really enjoy comedy. I think I do comedy well, but I also think that sometimes we need to be smacked in the head a little bit with themes that are important to all. And Mamma Mia La Befana takes place in Montpelier, Vermont, a place that, George, you and I have both visited when we went to Goddard.
Montpelier so much, yes.
It was a perfect place to set this. It's about a grandmother who is full of vim and vigor. She's in her 60s. She skis. She lives in Florida. And at Christmas time, she normally doesn't come to visit her granddaughter, Mary, and her daughter, Maria. But this particular holiday season, she does. And what we discover along the way is that this grandmother is ageless. She's really the thousands of years old La Befana, who every holiday season searches out every Italian kid in the world during Epiphany, and if they've been good, leaves them a present or some candy. If they've been bad, some carbone, a bit of coal to remind them to be better next year.
Yes.
But this year, and I don't want to reveal too much of the plot. I think it's captivating and it's engaging. Dad is a doctor, and every holiday season he volunteers with Doctors Without Borders. And Mary, our protagonist, our 10-year-old star, knows that Daddy won't be home for Christmas, but New Year's and Epiphany is always their holiday. Well, this year, because of the increased fighting in Africa, they are not able to come out and get out. And then they discover they're actually trapped in this particular part of Southern Africa. And Mary's besides herself. So she decides she's going to figure out a way to get her dad home. And her mom has called politicians and said, can America airlift these guys? And the response is, oh, but Doctors Without Borders is a French agency. And so not getting anywhere politically, Mary decides that if she rides her brand new Christmas bike in the snowstorm, up and down the hills of Montpelier, Vermont, she will go and just sit in front of the senator's office, and some state trooper will probably arrest her, and then she'll get tons of press, and then they'll be able to get her father home. She's a very gifted and precocious 10-year-old.
I love this child. Oh my gosh.
I know. She could be yours. In the moment of doing this, however, even though she's well prepared and she's printed out from Google Earth a map and she has a cell phone, she makes the mistake of texting while riding her bike. Bad thing. Bike crashes, bike falls off. She's hurt. She can barely walk, but she makes it. And remember, this is Epiphany, to the manger in front of their Catholic church, where she's smart enough to bury herself in the straw. Meanwhile, everybody is panicking at home. Does anybody find Mary? Her best friends, who have names that are very reminiscent to the Three Kings, and who were just in the Christmas pageant with her, playing the Three Kings, are helping, as are all the adults in the community. But we know who is ultimately going to find her. the same spirit of epiphany that finds every little Italian child.
La Befana.
La Befana. Yeah.
Okay. So this 10-year-old child is the protagonist of the play, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Do you have her played by an actual age-specific actor, or do you have her played by an older actor pretending to be someone so young? Because I'm wondering if this is such a big role.
It's a huge role. And I've seen kids, and I've worked with a lot of kids, do wonderful things. And when I created this piece, I thought that it would be great, not only for youth groups of Catholic churches, because it's very Catholic centered, but also for theaters that work with children and produce family centered plays. The cast can be augmented. There are essentially the three kings are two boys and a girl, and Mary is a girl, and then there's La Befana and the mother, two women. And then there are just one guy playing the dad. He can also be the state trooper. So it can be a small cast, or a community theater could embellish it by adding a children's choir, all the accoutrement for a Christmas kind of a pageanty play. But at the same time, we're dealing with, I hate to say that's how many of my plays are anti-war plays, but an anti-war piece. How do we deal with politics piece? So it's got a message besides this wonderful, uplifting story based on an Italian folktale.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on the anti-war stories. It's as far as I'm concerned, we should have more, because the public needs to hear, see, and understand the point of view of not sending our relatives, friends, family members out to solve the problems that politicians create along the way. Let's send the politicians out there to do their own fight. Things would change so much.
When I was researching this, and particularly Doctors Without Borders and kinds of places they have been in, Rwanda and all of that, and I realized that this stuff's been going on for years and years and years, certainly throughout all of my adult life, and they never stop. No. And we do nothing to stop it. It's all about the dollar, I think.
It is.
Or the yen, or the euro, or the pound.
It's whatever buys the guys in the oligarchy their next small country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's Mamma Mia La Befana, and it's looking for a home if anybody wants to produce it. Next Stage Press will have it out for you.
Okay. We're both published by Next Stage Press, and I want to send a shout out to one of my favorite people in the world, Gene Cato, who runs it.
Yes.
He does an absolutely amazing job. He's incredible. Yes.
He is. Yeah. I mean, I have been calling myself the Grandma Moses of playwrights, and Gene was the first person to publish me. Well, I take that back. I've had stuff published earlier in journals and stuff. Sure. But the first play that I've ever had really published was by Gene. And he's just been so supportive, down to what color do you want the cover to be?
I know. Yeah, it's there are certain things you should and should not ask your publisher, because they have all the stuff and they follow all their programs. But I was able to send a cover graphic for my play Fault Lines. I got to pick the cover color.
George, because I saw that you had a cover graphic, I started sending cover graphics too.
I think a few more people have started doing that. I'm not sure if Gene is cursing me at this moment, but this is not the first play you've had published, is it? You've had
no. If I do the plays. Many snows ago, right, which is based on the tale of New Jersey's and the Eastern Seaboard's indigenous people, the Lenape, which are really a branch of the Iroquois nation. I toured with this 100 years ago when I was sprightly and could lift things in and out of a truck. So it was done in lots of schools, and it's short folk tales of the Lenape. Mm-hmm. Presented in a story theater fashion. So it too is great for schools. And every school on the Eastern Seaboard studies the indigenous people of their lands. And again, this is another piece that's actually could be part of any curriculum of the third and fourth grade in any school from Delaware, up to Vermont.
Yeah.
It's just fun. And Next Stage Press did indeed publish that. Youth Plays, another great company, published The Eagle and the Woman, which is based on an Ashanti tale from Ghana. And it's about sometimes love blinds us and we allow things to happen. It's a really moralistic that we know shouldn't because of that love.
Yeah. Well, love makes us do the most insane things.
Insane stuff. In this case, the old woman, it's really a powerful tale of love between a grandmother and a granddaughter.
Yeah.
There's this crippled old woman who's searching for food for her granddaughter on the plains of Ghana. And the great eagle sees her and sees that she's so crippled and she's looking for something. And she offers, and I say she because I'm not quite sure who the eagle is, offers to help. And all the other animals are saying, yeah, you don't really want to help these people because they don't really help animals. They kill the elephants for their tusks. They do all these horrible things. But the eagle goes, I'm going to ask her to do a deal. I've got eggs that need to be in a nest. I will create for her a village if she will promise me that the village will guard the nest. Well, of course, the woman does. And the only person who doesn't appear in the village, and the eagle had said, think of everyone you love and who loves you, and they will appear in this village. And her granddaughter doesn't. The granddaughter appears in the midst of a great thunderstorm and lightning. And when the people in the village see her, they all groan because she's the most obnoxious little shit you'd ever want in the world. So selfish. And of course, the first thing she wants to do is eat a baby eagle. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends because it's sad. It's sad. We don't want people to cry when they listen.
No,
but it does deal with, because the grandmother obviously loses everything. She loses the village. She loses her friends because she allowed her love to overwhelm her ability to commit to this promise.
Yeah.
And
human
essentially bite the hand. Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the
so
things we
that's
do
published by Youth Plays, and they're in California. Yeah.
Actually, I want to get to another.
Can I tell you?
Go for it.
Go ahead. I was going to tell you a secret. I have my resume up on my iPad because I can't remember the names of my plays. But don't tell anybody. It's a big secret.
I won't tell anyone.
Okay.
I was going to try and segue to one of your other plays, which I really wanted to talk about. Email 912. And
yeah. Oh,
God,
yeah.
Yeah, talk about anti-war stuff and talk about, Tell us the story of how this came around, will you?
Oh, wow. Well, Email 912. Wow. Email 912. I was teaching at Rutgers in Newark, New Jersey, and I would take the train from Asbury Park. We lived in Asbury Park at that point in time. And I'm on the train, and on the morning of 9/11, everybody, it's the people on the right side of the train, which would have been the Hudson River side, are staring out the window and saying, look at the smoke. And suddenly everybody's looking out the window, and we realize that the smoke is coming from one of the Twin Towers. Well, no one knows why this smoke is coming, and people are like texting and trying to get some information. And then somebody said, oh, a plane hit the tower. Well, the majority of people on the train assumed that it was like a little Piper Cub or, some little two-seater guy.
Sure, yeah.
Screwed up. And so then we got off the train in Newark, and some people continued into Manhattan. And I get to Rutgers, and everybody's staring at computers. And some people went up to the roof And as we're looking out the windows, we see this motherfucking giant plane, second plane crash into the tower. And the towers start to collapse. And it was a moment that I will always remember. I mean, just like I
How
always
could you
remember.
forget? Oh
Yeah. Where I was when John Kennedy was shot. I mean, it's those things you just remember. And probably what our parents remembered the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. I mean, they're embedded. They're just embedded. Well, they closed the school, and a lot of what I'm sharing with you is also in the play because it's it's based on me and it's based on my friends. The character's name is Margaret. I mean, that's me. They closed the school, but I needed a new parking decal. And I thought, oh, well, the school's closed except for the administrative offices. And they're telling everyone to leave. I'll just run over to this admin office and get my parking decal and then head for a train. And when I go to the office, the woman behind the counter, who was African American, looked at me and she said, "My husband is a Newark police officer. There are no policemen in Newark. Everyone has gone to New York. You have to leave."
Wow.
And I immediately realized she was saying, "Listen, white lady, you have to leave." Yeah. And that was really culturally, I mean, you know me, George. I mean, I would never think in those terms, but I realized that's what she was actually saying.
People generally don't think in those terms right off the bat. We have to be told a lot of the perspectives that are obvious to everyone else. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I got to the train station and it was chaos. You couldn't get a train out. I mean, and people that were stuck in the path. I mean, it was awful. So they just loaded everybody on a train to get them out of Newark. And frankly, I'm not quite sure where I ended up because I don't remember. It was just an awful day. And somehow then I made it on another train back. And in those days, we were living on a farm in Flagtown, New Jersey. And my husband was working at a nuclear plant. Oh God, which one? He's worked at so many. The one that's in New York that one of the Kennedy kids decided they had to shut down.
What did you actually put on the paper and start writing this?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
And now I get home. I can't reach my husband. He can't reach me. And I found out later people were hysterical because they thought I would be the kind of person that would have gone over to New York to help. And because I couldn't get home right away. And the minute I got home, this is when I put pen to paper.
Wow.
I sent an email to like everybody I knew that I really cared about, saying, this is what my day was like. And it was horrible. And I want to know, A, that you're okay, and B, what your day was like. And I didn't think at that point, this is going to be a play. I just knew that I had to reach out to everybody I knew and loved.
Yeah.
And then, like in the middle of the night, I'm hearing the bing, 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 and I don't remember. I mean, that's with dial-up, there was no FiOS at that point in time in 2001. The emails started coming back, and when I read them, I thought, this is a play, and these have to be shared.
Yeah.
I mean, I changed names and I changed places and
of course,
and embellished and all of that. But it's really, the play is really based on the responses that I got to the events of that day. And after, when I realized that I was going to do this as a play, I started interviewing people. I interviewed police officers and firemen, and just to add another perspective of reality. And they are real stories. They are real stories.
Yeah.
So, and I was really fortunate that first I did it as a one-woman play, this woman, me, writing these emails and then reading their responses. And we had it done by the Black Box Theater of Asbury Park when George Hansel was the artistic director. And then I realized, it can't be a one-woman play. We have to have these voices heard. And so it got redone. And for I was really fortunate for the 10th anniversary of 9/11. It was done in Philadelphia and New York, in a couple of places in New Jersey, someplace in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I think of all the stuff I've written, it deserves to be done more, because from a historic perspective, it tells the story because based on real people, and it's a lesson for those people that weren't even born then, to see what happened and the impact it had on people's emotions and lives.
Yeah, in a sense, the younger persons of today have an advantage that we did not. We heard the tales of World War II, and we heard the tales of, the Kennedy shooting, and we heard the details of the Red Scare. All these spoken word stories handed down as it had been done for the past 10,000 years, because that's how history was transmitted. You heard from your elders. Kids today now get to see the pictures. They get to see 9,000 YouTube videos of 9/11.
Right.
They get to see and hear and have more access to information than we ever did. And that's somebody else's, PhD thesis right there. But to transmit that into an age-old art form such as playwriting is, it's been done millions of times before, but it's still testimony to what humans go through at the worst possible times.
At the worst possible time. And not only from a historic perspective, but based just what you said, it reveals the resilience of people. It also reveals the connection, and we all know it now because of the pandemic, the connection you can still have through cyberspace in a very positive way. And actually, that was the first thing that Next Stage Press published, was that. And then they published my children's plays. Jean did.
Yeah.
But that was the first one.
Which is where I want to go next. And I was going to say, it's internet, which is what we're doing right now. This would not have been possible 15 years ago.
I know. You're so far away from me, across an ocean and a land. Yes.
I know, but it feels like we're in the same cafe, ordering cappuccino after cappuccino here and just watching life go by. Because I was either going to go with folk tales or children's plays. And I think since we're already there, let's talk about your kids' plays. When did you start writing them, and what made you start writing for kids? When I
went to undergraduate school, when I got my BA in theater at Montclair State, it was a college then. Now it's a different named university. I had a professor who said, "You can be a star and love that, and maybe seldom work, but when you work, you're the star. Or you can be a working actor and actually earn money doing this, as long as you're willing to put that work in." And I always thought, I'm an actor and I'm going to get paid. So my first writing experience for a public, besides when I was 7 years old, charging, I think it was a nickel or a dime, to come into the woods.
I just want to throw in for the general public here that making money in theater and playwriting is good luck. It doesn't happen a lot.
But it doesn't happen a lot unless you're entrepreneurial. Maybe that's it. But when I was 7, I was pretty entrepreneurial, and I wrote this play. And we called it Zodiac Village. It took place in the woods between my house and the Hansons. And I wrote a play about all the mysterious and macabre things that could happen to you and scare the heck out of you in Zodiac Village. So there'd be lots of screams, and the neighborhood kids paid. But when I really wrote something for money, I was probably a sophomore in college. and I got a job with the Recreation Commission doing theater with kids, and they wouldn't pay for for the royalties, which really offends me when schools don't pay the royalties. Sorry, Mr. Principal, you get a salary. Playwrights need the royalties. And essentially, it's thievery. Yeah. So I decided I wasn't going to steal, which is what they had done. I was going to write a play. So I wrote a children's play. I wish I could remember the name of it. I mean, it was 110 years ago. Detective Dog, that was the name of it. Detective Dog Solving Crimes. And then when I graduated from college, I had a theater on 73rd Street in New York called Originals One with people that I had met doing summer stock. And I was just a producer there. And I realized that was my first advanced degree, was learning how to produce theater in New York. Yeah. And simultaneously, because we weren't making enough money, I got a job as a teacher. And while I was teaching at Hillsborough High School, I started writing reviews that the kids could do. And then out of that, I met a woman who became my partner in this, TJ Miskulski. She was a speech therapist who had a really strong background in theater too, had been a performer, a equity performer as a kid. And we started a children's theater company called Laffin Stock Company, Laffin Stock Company. And our logo was a big set of teeth with red lips. And we were very successful, and we were paying the actors more than equity scale for a TYA contract was at that point in time, because it was like 1971. Sure. And we were paying $25 a performance, and some days we did 4 shows. And I also sold it. I sold it to the summer to recreation commissions, and then we added the holiday season, and we started selling. So we'd have 2 seasons, summer and holiday season, because holiday season teachers have off for a couple of weeks, and the summers we had off. So I was making money from my children's plays. And I don't know, and that was years ago. And we actually closed the company because we were too successful, but neither of us, she was married.
You closed because you were too successful?
I know,
I've never heard anybody in theater even come close to that.
Because my partner's husband said, you can't quit your teaching job. This isn't going to make enough money. So I would have been doing it by myself. And I thought, well, I don't know what I was. I wasn't even 30 yet. Maybe he knows. I don't know. Yeah. So,
but I don't want to close. I want to keep doing this.
I want to keep doing this. And I ultimately left teaching anyway, and I started working in radio. But I had all of these plays in a drawer, and they were typed on a typewriter. And there was a real problem because I was also in most of them. As a matter of fact, I broke my leg in one. I was hired. We were hired. We would get hired by all kinds of people. We were hired by a bank who was doing fundraising for the Heart Fund. And they wanted a hearts-related play. So I wrote a play called Hearts for the Heartless. And I was the mean queen who stole the hearts. And I flew in and the line snapped about 3 minutes before the show.
Oh.
Boom.
Ouch.
Boom. And there were, an audience outside. Ouch. But the worst problem with me being in the shows besides that was because I was the author and the producer and the director, I didn't really spend a lot of time memorizing. And so I was improvising often, and the actors would be like, "What?
They must have loved you.
Where is that coming from?"
Where is she? Okay,
and I figured it didn't matter, man. I'm not Shakespeare. It's okay. You can change the words. But because of that, now that I'm in my 3rd act, and I don't want to call it my final act, maybe I'll have a 4th act. In my 3rd act, I have gotten these out of the drawer and have been rewriting them. And because they had so many shows so many changes with me improvising. I think that the scripts are really solid. I mean, The Girl Who Cried Witch is a Halloween play that helps us learn that special feeling of being happy doesn't mean you have to change who you are. It was published by Next Stage Press, and I've got a bunch of others in the drawer that I'm working on. And because they had so many performances and they can be documented, I'm going to be sending them out and
Nice.
seeing if we can get them published. But I have drawers full. Anybody want one? You can find me at midgeguerrera.com. There you
Yeah,
go.
now they're lining up as we speak. Okay, somebody told me this, and I can't remember who because I researched it. And you need to explicate this for me. Created 2 performing arts high schools? I mean, where does that come from? I mean, a whole high school? Who creates a high school?
Somebody who doesn't know that they can't.
Oh, that person. Okay.
That person. People have said that what I am really is a program builder. Okay. I will tell you the high school thing. I had been working for WBRW, a small market radio station, and at the same time was still friends with the artist teachers at the high school that I had been teaching out, including one, Mickey Mathesius, who was a history teacher, but also ran the dance department. And we talked about Somerset County in New Jersey didn't have a designated arts agency. So we decided we would start one. And, we didn't know how, we just did it. We started an arts agency that had
always so much better when you have no clue how to do them.
We have no clue. And we got funders and we got a board of power. We knew things that we knew, didn't read the book. You need powerful people on your board. Okay, did that. Mm-hmm. You need a great space. Okay, found one really cheap, got former students to help with the redesign and the rebuild, did that. And we just kept moving forward until we were this really wonderful, it was called the New Jersey Center for the Performing Arts. And during that, the vocational school asked if, I also ran the Somerset County Teen Arts Program. During that period. Okay. And Somerset County Vocational School asked if I could come in and help them with some sort of a gifted artsy program or something. So I was looking at their school, and the vocational schools were having diminished enrollment because parents at this point in time were so into getting their kids into college, they didn't want to hear that you could make $1 million as a plumber and go to vocational school. And I said, well, you ought to have a dance studio and a theater program. And I wrote, and then at the same time, my partner, Mickey Mathesius, was going to graduate school. So she was writing this up for her master's in administration. And then I wrote the empowering legislation for the state of New Jersey that Somerset County Votech forwarded to the state of New Jersey. And the next thing you knew, we had a performing arts high school within the vocational school in Somerset County with musical theater and dance. Ultimately, now it also has musical theater, gets lots of kids, etc. And then I realized I couldn't stay in Somerset County much longer. I needed to do something else. Oh, I broke up with this guy. I wanted to get the fuck out of town. So Red Bank Regional was a vocational school district in Monmouth County. And now they wanted to follow this model, and they hired me to create within their plant, within their high school, the performing arts program, which this one had music and dance and theater. And then I got hired by the state of New Jersey because the state of New Jersey had empowering legislation from the 70s to have a residential performing arts high school. You will notice if you research New Jersey, there still isn't one. I lasted 2 years in that job. I figured out how to do it. There was a school for the deaf that had hardly any kids in it. I talked to that board and those administrators. I said, can we use this for a performing arts residential? And then we would, of course, give priority to deaf students and work with them. They were excited. I figured out how to fundraise it. I figured it all out. I went to sit I then sat down with the commissioner of education, who explained that they didn't really want one, that essentially it was there to appease the arts lobby. And my father was a politician, and he knew lots of political friends. And that very same day, I secretly got press kits out to all the major dailies that covered New Jersey.
Nice.
And held a press conference, and I resigned because I was being paid a lot of money and I had a big staff. And I said, feed the hungry.
Oh my
Because
God.
you don't want this. And when I was hired in the interview with a deputy commissioner of education, I said, do not hire me unless you really want this, because I will build it. I build things. I will build it. But they didn't really want it. So I left, and then I became poor, but it was okay.
You know, as somebody who co-ran a fringe festival in Ithaca, New York for 4 years, and 2 years of trying to get it going before that, between boards and fundraising and endless fakakta details, you know, to hear you talk about starting a high school and a performing arts center and making it sound so easy, I'm not sure if I'm in awe or something else. I don't know, but some people.
I don't know. Maybe it's selective recall.
Yeah,
I scrubbed the floors. I painted the walls.
Yeah. Well, that's what most people who run a theater do, you know, or then they get into theater and it's nice. We all have this wonderful idea of we're going to have a corporate structure and there are going to be people here who are going to take care of all these little, you know, segregated jobs and everything will run like clockwork. But the thing is, nobody put the batteries in the clock. The clock doesn't work. It's on the wrong time. It's only got one hand. And one person is pretty much running the whole thing.
Well, what I discovered is that I liked to hire people who were smarter than I was and really good at what they did and let them do it.
Yeah, that's a good way.
And with the arts, you know, and with the Art Center, there at that point in time, this was the 70s, I guess, there was a lot of Comprehensive Education Training Act money. It was called CETA money. So and if you hired ex-cons, and in those days, if you smoked pot, you were an ex-con, right? So I hired ex-cons. One was a star gymnast, and I created outsourcing programs in the prisons with this guy going in and doing gymnastics and movement and dance. You know, I hired a woman who was an ex-con because she was an alcoholic to be an administrator. She was fabulous. It was all with that kind of money. Or maybe she was under disability money. I don't know. But I was able to work. I grew up in a political family, George. My dad was the mayor. He was very active in county and state politics. When I was 22, I was in the White House at political briefings because my father didn't want to go. When he put me on the train, gave me a big notebook and said, go to this meeting. I said, okay.
Okay, great. Yeah.
You know, so I think because I have that background and grew up with it, I always figured if there was a wall, there's always a way above it or under it or around it. You know, just don't sit and don't.
So many people are not taught that is possible. Most people are taught to follow the rules. These are the rules. You follow them. And it's hard because without realizing that you have permission to be creative, to be a free thinker, to be a critical thinker, you end up not going as far as you might possibly have gone. And it's such a crime to keep our next generations from realizing there are good rules, there are bad rules, there are ways to...
and I'm not even saying that if the rule is good or the rule is bad. Yeah. It's a rule. And I never break a rule, but I read the rule so thoroughly that I know exactly what the scope is.
Well, you find ways to work with. And
you work within it, which people don't think about because they don't read the whole rule. They just go, oh, you can't do this. Okay, you can't do it between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. Why don't we do it at 4? You know,
sure.
They just have to have that knowledge. Yeah. So that's that story. And I don't know what else I should talk. Oh, I should talk about new projects.
Well, I was actually going to segue to your life in Italy and cars, castles, cows, and
Oh my
chaos
God, my
because yeah, it's I read this book. I love this book. It's so much fun, and the fact that you write it with your own voice is, I mean, we knew each other from what 3, 4 week long sessions up at Goddard, and your voice has always stayed with me. Your attitude has always stayed with me. Your joie de vivre has always been there. When I think of Midge, I think of, oh my God, bring her to the party because she's going to be the life of the party, or she's going to be so much fun. Um, but yeah, and just the way you relate things that happen, like snow shutting down the entire country. You know, it's like living in Georgia. 1 inch of snow and everybody panics. But yeah, let's go there for a moment.
I would love to talk about that. Cars, Castles, Cows, and Chaos is my very first book. And I am publicly going to thank Deborah Brevoort because she said, you may never be a screenwriter, because at Goddard, I said, I want to be a screenwriter. But you write great essays. Have you thought about memoir or essays? And
I just want to
oh no, I'm going to be a yeah. I'm going to be a. I'm sorry, George.
No. Sorry. I just want to cut in and say Deborah Brevoort is a playwright on her own, and she wrote Women of Lockerbie, and she was one of the more popular mentors up at Goddard College. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Keep going.
She was. I mean, she was just wonderful. And I went, no, I'm a playwright. I'm going to learn how to write a film script. Well, my Divorcing Daddy film script, my graduate thesis got done. It never saw the light of day. It's still in a box. But when my husband decided to retire, we started living in Italy half of the year. And I don't know how many years ago that was. It was a bunch of years ago. And I can't stand being sedentary. I don't want to sit and just read a book all day and stare at the mountains. It's a lovely thing to do. So I started blogging as Nona's Mulberry Tree, nonasmulberrytree.com, just stories of daily life, expat in Italy. And then I thought, oh, these essays, if they were redone, these blog posts, could be a book. So I started dividing them out. Oh, look, these are all about cars. There's a bunch about food, So I took all the car ones and I put them in some kind of order. And then I just started rewriting. And I discovered that there was a publishing house located in Ewing, New Jersey, which is where we spend our USA time.
Yeah.
So I went to their website, and without an agent, and because nobody told me I couldn't do it,
of course, yeah.
I did exactly what it said for submissions, and I sent them the first third or fourth of the book. They offered me a contract. George, I think I peed my pants. I was like running around this condominium screaming, oh my God. I couldn't believe it.
It's nice when you get your first contract for that sort of thing.
Oh my God. And the name of the company was Read Furiously. It still is Read Furiously. Great company. They do lots of stuff for the greater good. They literacy programs. They set up free little library boxes in towns. Really, really nice people. Read Furiously. So they said they would do the book. And so I realized I don't have a finished book. We can't tell them you don't have a finished book. I only sent in the requisite number of pages.
Yeah.
I have to write the Fakakata book, all of it now. And I did. I guess that was kind of during COVID. And I sent it out. It came out in 2022. I sent it out to good friends to read. And more than one said, wow, this needs cartoons. So I have a dear, dear friend, Janet Cantor Watson, who is a great artist, So I paid her not as much as she's worth for sure. And she did cartoons to go with the stories. And suddenly there it is. In 2022, I've got this book. And
That just magically
it's been a
appeared.
real road trip. It magically appeared. It was like this whole book, it's my name on it. And I've been doing readings, which is the theater person in me. I truly love it. And now, out of doing the readings, as a matter of fact, I have 2 readings coming up in March in upstate New York. The names of the towns, of course, I don't remember. But wait, I can go to the calendar on my phone, because maybe there are people listening to this in, oh no, this is coming out in April, you said.
Probably May, actually.
Oh, in May. Well, never mind.
Okay.
I'm going to be in some towns in March, but out of that, I'm working it into a one-woman show, and which I had sort of done, and I did it, and I only performed it once, but I have it on my website. Oh my God, I forgot the name of my one-woman show. Doesn't matter. You can look at my website, midgeguerrera.com.
Midge's one-woman show.
My Midge's one-woman show. But maybe I should go there and I should see if it's still up. La Dolce Vita, or is it?
Okay, there you go.
There you go. La Dolce Vita, or is it? And now that I'm doing these readings, and I'm just enjoying them so much. The first bookstore I did was in Newtown, Pennsylvania. And I read tons of stories from my book. It's a collection of short stories. And afterwards, the bookstore owner said, "You really can't read so much." I said, "Well, did I do a bad job? I'm a pretty good reader, I thought." She said, "You read so many that I heard 2 women say, she already read probably half of the book. Why should we buy it?" And I went, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Just tell stories about how these stories came to be, and read a sentence, or read the title and just flow with the stories." So that's what I've started doing. And that's really made me think, wow, these are good stories. And I haven't had anybody record, but when I do them in upstate New York in March, I'm going to have someone record me, because I don't know what I say. I make it up as I go along.
Sure. Sounds like an audiobook in the making to me.
Well, I think that the book should be an audiobook too. And I think what they explained to me, and I didn't get this, is that publishing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Because I said, well, why don't we do an ebook and an audiobook right away? No.
Nope.
First, we do the hard copy. Then we wait a year, and then we do the ebook, which is what they did. The ebook just came out before Christmas. Then we wait, and then we do an audiobook. Now you have 3 opportunities to pitch the book.
Yeah.
And not having an agent or anybody to pitch. I think also that it would be a great television series. Anybody out there know anybody who does television series? Great.
Why not? It actually sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. There's this crazy woman in her 2nd and 3rd act of life, flitting around Italy, getting in trouble and making fun of herself. It would be great fun. And so, you can buy Cars, Castles, Cows, and Chaos. You can order it wherever books are sold at we like independent bookstores.
We love independent bookstores. There is an independent bookstore finder online. So in case people don't know where to find an independent bookstore, go find independent bookstore online, and that will tell you. And you can avoid.
It might even be bookstores.org, I think. And it lists everybody in your town. And you can order a book through your local bookstore just by doing it online.
Sure, yeah.
You don't even have to go, but it supports them. It's a fabulous thing.
It's a wonderful thing.
So thank you so much for bringing it up.
No worries. This has been so much fun. I mean, wow, the time has really flown here, and there's like so much more stuff we could talk about, but maybe we'll have you back at some point. But I just wanted to say thank you for everything, and just for telling all these wonderful stories and being so much fun. And I wish you so much good luck with the book and the play and whatever it else you've got in that imagination of yours that needs to come out.
George, thank you very much. New projects real fast, something called Born Till Vasa, Born to the Sea. I'm working with a producer, Joseph Black, and his wife, Sandy, on a play about a Swedish warship built between 1626 and 1628. And I know you were interested in this. I'm working with an actor from Italy, Michael Albini, on a one-person show about an Italian prisoner of war guy who was stuck in New Jersey, as well as an Italian American who was thrown in an internment camp.
Wow.
I'm only going to say that because most people don't realize that during World War II, Americans were also thrown in internment camps.
That's a story we don't hear very much.
I don't want to end on a horribly depressing note. So now I'm going to say, George, this has been fun. I really love it. And I love the fact that you're allowing me to speak my piece on your show.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Hey kids, thanks for listening to On Stage, Off Stage. On Stage, Off Stage is produced monthly, and all of our shows can be found at onstageoffstage.org and also on iTunes and Spotify. If you enjoy what we do, please recommend us to your friends. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at OnOffStage. And if you are a theater artist with an upcoming project of interest or know of someone in the theater who'd make some seriously good chat, by all means, send us a note at info@onstageoffstage.org. I'm George Sapio. Thank you once again for listening. And please, stay safe, be careful, not only for yourself, but for those with whom we all share this rock. And as always, happy theatering to all of you.